Another year, another batch of artworks that kept me going. And although I've been in a much better place than last year, I can start this video in much of the same way. So I will. Over these past couple of years, Hobbs' releases have quickly earned a special place in my heart. That's largely thanks to their eccentric sample work, which I find to just perfectly channel that weird sort of confusion and angst of the chronically online, also known as me. Because of that, whether it be mixing random songs into a noisy concoction of fun,
what a bummer of the summer, I've been trying to forget and keep my head under the covers,
providing a fitting backdrop to a devastating soundbite,
it's possible that in the last moments of life, even though one has already taken action,
or just concocting a wall of sound that tickles my brain in just the right way. I really can't help but be drawn in. And considering I downloaded that album within the last few months, there's no way this is staying chronological, so let me just keep the ball rolling with some classics that I finally tried out. Starting off with an album I refuse to pronounce. It's an atmospheric, grandiose, and truly innovative project that is difficult for me to buy into, meaning I really feel its runtime, especially down to the individual tracks. As unfortunate as that may be, it's also impossible for me to deny the sheer beauty of it all. Next, with no question nor hesitation, this album
Holy Spirit, when I look, I cannot see reflection in the mirror.
Immediately lived up to the hype. I adore the left field, anxious nature of the instrumentals, especially this strange, squeaky riff thing.
Oh, you ain't know that.
And tied to these backdrops, well, I always love introspection and self-awareness in music, and this entire project is exactly that, but in a vulgar, grimier, and painfully confessional kind of way. Then, rather than one album itself, it's more so an artist. I'd heard enough Phil Elverum chatter that I finally decided to dip my toes into his discography, and to start, I just chose the first one that jumped out at me. As always, I love me my atmospheres, and this has plenty of that. But what gets me the most here are the little melodies woven throughout his lyricism.
And I just lie down in the snow, buried in space.
It's an easy show of a great musician, and makes me really excited to explore more of his music. Also, in much of a similar vein,
I can tell you, but telling it's old.
yeah, I totally get this one. Outright, there's something so warm and inviting about Sufjan's voice, and that, alongside his silky smooth instrumentals and amazing writing, makes me genuinely surprised I didn't get into his music until now. It's also worth noting that this funny little track,
We lift our hands and pray over your body, but nothing ever happens.
was the first time in a while that a song made me sob, just completely on its own. But we're not at the sad part of the video yet, so here, have a meme.
Hey, you hungry home invader! Stop raiding our refrigerator! Yikes!
Better yet, another.
A world become one of salads and sun.
You know what? How about a third?
Are you a vampire?
Those were my only reasons for picking up these three classics, and I have no further commentary on the matter. Speaking of memes, I sure do love them, and after experiencing plenty of them,
Bitch, I'm back in my coma. How much do I not give a fuck? Let me show you right now before you give it up.
as well as this funny little occurrence,
It is Yeezus for me. Yeezus is my favorite album of all time.
the album in question had to officially join my catalog. I doubt I need to tell you that it's good, so I won't. Going way back for a second, we've got the fact that I already loved Take 5 through a number of songs quoting it meant I had to check this out, and what do you know? It's just a really great listen that easily stands the test of time. Now that we've got the old stuff out of the way, I want to get into some recent classics, starting with this one from 2021.
Please, why the desperate need to be remembered? Everybody knowing what you've done.
The orchestral theatrics are taunting me to call it corny, but it's so unbelievably earnest and beautifully produced that you'll only be diluting yourself if you call it that. Plus, this track
I'm unstoppable, got a strong head on my shoulders, and being good-hearted don't cost it all.
has been a great reminder to continue following my dreams. And now, getting even more recent, we've got the two behemoths from 2022. The first being the obvious. It's a very, very good project. And much like the Sigur Rós album, while it isn't quite a personal favorite, it deserves every bit of praise it's received. Though I can say, I think this song in particular is utterly phenomenal. The way the instruments all meld together and perfectly elevate the emotions that are spilling from the vocalist is just wow. And a different kind of wow is the second album. It's an experience, to say the least. One where you get manic and vaguely symphonic sounds beamed directly into your brain, while a man sitting on your side spills almost coherent ramblings into your ear. Now, that may sound overwhelming, but no, yeah, it is. And with that out of the way, I can now tell you about how, a year ago, I came across this very cool video by RYM Charts. And as foreshadowed in last year's honorable mentions, this album immediately stood out for its amazing title. Then for the entire year that followed, it only continued to stand out for its effortlessly feel-good ear candy. Like, I struggle to pick a favorite because the entire album is like this. And for similar reasons, I also don't have much to say about it. I just really like it. Skipping a few months, I was met with an album that clicked just as quickly. Maybe it's my affinity towards gaziness, or that I'm having Sarah Bonita withdrawals, or it's just a really well-rounded album, perfectly merging textured fuzz with intricate bleeps and bloops, and weaves earnest emotions throughout its entirety. There's plenty of earworm moments, like but the lyrics are easily what hit the hardest. They're full of heartbreak, self-loathing, and capture that super universal phenomenon of, there are certain songs and sections that really don't click with me, but hey, nothing ventured, nothing gained. And that opening verse of Sulky Baby hits me like a truck, so before I knew it, the year end was upon me, and was also laced with... It's an EP, so I won't linger on it, but I've gotta say, it does go crazy.
If you want to be like a good music critic, all you have to say is say an adjective and then say the opposite.
In production that is so detail heavy and lush and layered, but also messy, chaotic, lo-fi.
Yes, I listened to Scrapyard, and despite how much I enjoyed it, I almost didn't even write about it because it feels so obvious. But what I really mean by that is he covers thoughts I've already had and also had long since tossed out, thinking no one needed to hear them from me. Most notably are the thoughts contained in two tracks, firstly being I am unable to cope with how I'm perceived, bad or good. I don't know what to do with this, but hey, at least this song can speak in my stead. Then there's also a song I can take in both the I can't seem to communicate like everyone else kind of way, and also in the kind of way. Then finally, I can't go without mentioning what ended up being my most played song this past year. It should be no surprise with how much I loved Haunt You, but yeah, it's one of the cut tracks. The whole project's great, and I encourage anyone to check it out. And since we're on the topic of continuing artists, I have to mention that Prizes Rosa's Rosa is my current favorite. something obvious enough for this comment to appear on my last FM. So, naturally, I had to prove myself and begin a deep dive into his discography, which brought me to these. Though my favorite of the bunch has actually been the one from this year, a 3-track album which includes an absolutely hypnotic, atmospheric jam of a track. And most notably, a tribute to one of the most heartbreaking events in internet culture, one that happened 6 years ago on this very month. But after all this talk of his music, I once again have to mention a project as dense as this one needs proper time to soak in, especially into a skull as thick as mine, and what better way to show that off if not through me struggling to describe it in July and then naming it Album of the Year in December. Needless to say, it's thanks to how beautifully orchestrated it only continues to be, though it's also helped by how its consistent melancholy is kinda my baseline as well. Notably though, by this time I'd fully grasped just how soaked in death this thing is. It's almost silly how I managed to look past it, but yeah, the whole thing is one long meditation over the topic, covering the fear of it, the reality of it, the beckons of it, the sheer horror of it.
Thought we could do it literally with a scalpel, cutting a human full adult's body in half.
And obviously the grief that it causes. It's such a potent project, and one that I'm only going to continue to carry with me. And since I don't have it in me to bring this up anywhere else, I want to mention Today I Laid Down by Black Market Cart. It's a display of, let's say, talent, I guess. It's a reminder of the unexpected, truly resonant artworks that can come from talent, as well as, for me at least, the strange feeling of seeing talent spill from someone notably younger. But above everything else, it stands as a reminder of just how devastating it is to lose a talent far, far too soon. Now, there is something I can segue into, but sometimes I feel so strongly about something that I know for a fact my words can't do it justice. And even further than that, any words I force out will only serve to hurt its reputation. But for this show, I'm gonna take that risk. Freerun is a show, one that certainly covers death and the regrets that come with it, but that's far from the true heart of it. To me, it's a show that portrays the beauty and hope of, well, life in general. It's a reminder of how one's love and kindness can ripple out across generations, and how passing down mistakes and lessons learned brings both yourself and others to heights which one would have never achieved alone. It's a show full of comforting thoughts to take with you on your own journey. Phrases like, it's a waste to lose those memories, it's never too late to start, and just generally that kindness goes a long, long way. Obviously, I recommend the show, but really, I'm just grateful to have experienced it myself. And more on anime, this past year also included rewatches of 2 shows that made very sudden, very strong impacts on me, and only continue to hit. The first of which being... There's something about this show that just overwhelms me, and I'm not sure in a good way. It's the feeling of being useless in a space that knows you're useless. The kind where someone always has to clean up after you and yet won't even scold you for messing up. The feeling of wanting to help someone who, despite being far more adjusted than you, still seems worse off. The feeling that, even with your obvious shortcomings, you still need to fill the shoes of your peers. And from these feelings comes a burning desire to change. But as weak as you are, it doesn't seem to go much further than that. A simple desire. Still though, you flail pitifully, wanting to change so bad that you only cause more problems. Wanting to change so bad that you forget things that are important to you. Wanting to change so bad that you destroy yourself in the process. And wanting to change so bad that, at the end of every failure, still stuck in the mess you've made, you repeat to yourself, "I'll try again tomorrow." It took 2 whole years for me to muster up the courage to watch this show again. Man. There's still a second show to talk about, and it is, of course, Sunny Boy. With it, there's just kind of an earnest understanding of how scary and heartbreaking that growing up and change in general tends to be. It's no surprise that it hits so hard for someone as sedentary as me. But anyways, supplementing these shows happen to be some utterly phenomenal soundtracks, which are also part of why I bring them up in this video. Lane of the Lustrous has an opening I struggle to skip. But beyond that, the soundtrack has this lush, sweeping quality that, quite simply, captures the beauty of the show. Sunny Boy, on the other hand, is chock full of dreamy and nostalgic songs. Songs that also hit very hard after finishing the show. And I haven't even finished watching it, but I need to mention that the musicianship behind Kids on the Slope is phenomenal. And with that out of the way, we can get back to albums.
SMH, rap genius, improbable readings, yet the God's penis left to dodge.
I won't lie, I'm just here because of the sweet production. And because of this shallow perspective, while the album is of very high quality, I find it rather hit or miss. Of course, this is ignoring the elephant. If this album grows on me, it'll be thanks to this track. It's like a quintessential cold weather track. The way the instrumental is so noisy, strange, and laced with decay effectively mirrors the biting stillness of it all. Then the way it weaves in these drifting, twinkly, and somehow comforting notes of piano and guitar also reminds me of how, despite all the dreariness, I'm still sort of drawn to that exact same cold. Now, I don't really want to get into the lyrics, but know that they do exist, and also reinforce just how exceptional this track is. Anyways, the year only continued on, and what do you know? A Sueños Toman Conta album dropped. As a certified landlubber, I don't find myself clicking with the oceanic themes, but I also can't not enjoy it when its palette consists of cool percussion, twinkly instrumentation, and, of course, beautiful walls of sound. In a similar vein, I knew the instant that I saw this album cover, I had to check it out. And even though a trap-adjacent project with 20 plus songs sounds like an instant pass for me, I wagered that if it sounded even half as cool as it looks, I'd be happy. And guess what? Somebody getting played tonight. Yes, it's bloated, yes, the lyrics can be silly and corny, but when it hits, oh man, does it hit.
I remember the nights we used to have. Fly around the world, married to the game. Carbon Mr. in between.
And finally, onto yet another album cover. I saw this gremlin appear high in the rankings, like a week after it dropped. So I just let my curiosity take over. There's a quirky little horrorcore tag on it for reasons that don't apply to English speakers, but ignoring that, I was immediately taken in by the consistently punchy production, which you get plenty of flavors of. But one of its biggest strengths is easily the sequencing. There were numerous times I was just listening to the intro track on its own, and then halfway through cued the entire rest of the album because I just like how it flows. And with that marks the end of the script. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll leave you with some honorable mentions.
Start making decisions.
I just killed my co-host, so I'm gonna.
This thing went wrong. This results in the first stage of grief.
You're the expert, yeah. So
because it's proof that life does.
That's it, yeah.
Oh, I'm looking for the
The what?